happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, August the 10th, 2021, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom. Well, the COVID crisis continues, and it just won't seem to go away. New cases are growing at the fastest rate since February. The United States is averaging 100,000 new COVID-19 cases a day. 100,000. Health workers say they are in a race against time to increase vaccination numbers among eligible teenagers. Hospitalizations and deaths are increasing rapidly. In Louisiana this past week, COVID-19 hospitalizations surged to record levels, mostly among unvaccinated patients. Health officials say the influx of patients is hurting their ability to care for people with heart attacks, injuries, and health conditions. Officials are asking ambulances not to come to them, to divert to other facilities because there are not other facilities for them, but there are not other facilities for them to go to. One doctor says when making rounds, it is not uncommon to see 5 or 6 stretchers lined up in the emergency room hallway with the EMS drivers standing by waiting to offload, but there is no room to put new patients. The Olympics have ended. It was a treat and an interruption from device politics. United States won 113 medals, more than any other country. China's finished second with 88. The United States regrouped in men's basketball, winning the gold medal with Kevin Durant, adding fuel to the fire that he might be the best basketball player out there. United States women took the gold as well in basketball and were dominant in the women's 4x400 relay. The Olympics, what a treat. I think we needed it at this time of the year. Legendary college football coach Bobby Bowden died on Sunday at age 91 of pancreatic cancer. Coach Bowden raised Florida State to a level they had not previously seen before winning 2 national championships in the 1990s. And last week, we had the opportunity to get out on a social outing in my hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. It was the first time we'd been on a social outing in quite a while. We visited with friends in a pretty much a safe environment. We were masked up and socially distanced, but more importantly, we had a good time. And I believe it did us all some good. So moving on. Our G-List guest today is sponsored by Mainstream Financial Group. Mainstream Financial will bring financial vision and clarity to your retirement plans. You don't want to let your money run out before you do. Today's Mainstream Financial brings you our G-List guest, Frank Brocato, the Mayor of Hoover, Alabama. Full disclosure, Mayor Frank and I went to high school together, played football together, and just had a great time. And so I'm sure we're going to have a good time this Monday, and I certainly look forward to visiting with him. Now, Tuesday with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Best Girl. Who is Best Girl and what is Best Girl? Well, we'll let the voice take it away.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
It's the solution that fits your need. Best Girl has been around now for, 17 years, and things are moving along rather well. So we thank you for your support out there. So let's get to our roundtable regulars and introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Barbara Wallace Edwards is a Mobile, Alabama native, currently living in Hoover, Alabama, where our G-List guest is from. Good morning, Barbara.
Good morning, Thom. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Want to send a shout out to all of our students here in Hoover, Alabama, who started school today. especially my nephews KJ and Kyrie, who are first day in the Hoover school system. They just moved to Hoover over the summer, so we're excited that they're here and praying that all of our students have a wonderful school year.
Well, yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I was out riding my bike this morning. I saw the kids on the bus stop,
Yes,
waiting again. The regulars, they never seem to be real happy
I know.
about going to school that early in the
In the
morning.
morning, and it was early. I know there were kids out this morning. I was headed over here for the show. Actually do the show from the Galleria Towers here in Hoover, not from home. So was out early, and there were kids already out there waiting for the bus. And talked to my niece last night. And she said her youngest son had to be at the bus stop at like 6:15 or something this morning. I was like, oh my God, that
Oh,
is way too early.
that's the time we used to have to be there. We caught
Yeah,
that 6:15 bus to town,
right,
and then
right.
we caught the second bus over to the south side and
Yeah.
for school. So
Yes.
I don't know. It'll build character, as they say.
So true. So true. Getting them ready for the working world
There you
one
go.
day. But
Well,
Tom, I also want to add, on a sad note, condolences to the family of one of our Auburn alums, Craig Oldtree. I don't know if you heard the news, but Craig, who was an Auburn standout on the football team, passed away on yesterday as from complications of COVID.
mm,
So, it's hitting very close to home, and Craig was only 53 years old,
wow.
and that's just so very sad. I pray for his family, his wife, and his three children. He was a executive at Georgia Power and a pastor of a church in Georgia.
Hmm.
So I pray for his his church members and his co-workers, former teammates, and of course his fellow alums and family.
I did see that, and of course I remember Craig. And actually, there was a video that I think the athletic department put up with he and Coach Dye
Yes.
and somebody who was interviewing him, and they were talking about he played in the '89 game the first time when they had what used to be the Iron Bowl. People keep
Right.
calling it the Iron Bowl, but it's
Right.
not the Iron Bowl because the Iron Bowl was played in Birmingham.
Birmingham, yes, but it will
Uh,
be ever called the Iron Bowl, I
but
think.
yeah, I saw that. I'm sorry. He was a great player, and
And a great person.
just wish his family well. Yeah, I didn't
Yes.
know him personally at all. I just remember him
I
from.
did get a chance to meet him, and he was just always just such a gentleman. It's just truly a sad situation.
Mm. Uh, it was funny on the interview. Ogletree said that the night before the game, they went to somewhere in Georgia and stayed. They didn't stay
Columbus,
in
I think.
Auburn.
Right.
And Coach Dye said, well, you knew I don't remember that. You're like, okay, Coach, hang in there. So, but let me go to Michael Walker, and I'll get back to you. Michael Walker, what's happening in your world? How you doing today?
Well, good morning, Tom. I'm doing well. Thank you very much. And good morning to you, Barbara.
Morning.
Hope you're doing well. Yes.
Sure.
Tom, of course, COVID is dominating the news right now. And with that brings on the subject of healthcare and managing or trying to mitigate the impact of COVID. So there's a couple things that I want to mention. First off, though, for anybody that is uninsured, you can get health insurance on the healthcare.gov marketplace. The special enrollment plan or season will end in 5 days on August the 15th. So anyone that is without insurance, you can go there and get it. One thing that I want to bring up that's fairly interesting, and we've talked about this before, about employers mandating vaccines. You've probably heard that General Austin is now mandating that the military become vaccinated because, in his words, what good is it to have a military if they are sick with COVID-19? Bringing on that, United Airlines joined other companies such as Microsoft and Tyson Foods and whatever on Friday, mandating COVID-19. The Biden administration and the Department of Labor are now looking into what authority does businesses have to mandate vaccines. And the reason why they're looking at that is because it's bringing about a lot of different lawsuits. Some calling it discrimination lawsuits, where they're saying people that are unvaccinated cannot come to work, or people having to work from remote areas. Since the pandemic began, there has been over 2,950 COVID-19 related employment lawsuits because of the pandemic. Now, the administration is considering a wide range of options to continue a wartime response against the virus, which includes restricting federal funds from nursing homes and long-term care, removing Medicare opportunities for their Medicare funding if they are not vaccinated. And President Biden, on his part, he says he has the employers back from a standpoint of, I guess he means lawsuits or whatever. He is supporting them to mandate vaccines. So this is going to just continue to move. We talked about this almost 6-7 months ago. And
More
now,
than that.
yeah, and now it is catching steam, and you're going to have a lot of lawsuits. And, my question is this. Most of these states, and in particular Georgia, is an employment at will state. In other words, you choose to go to work. And if you are suing a company for something, and what that means, employment at will state means that the company can decide to terminate you for any reason whatsoever. Okay. Well, now, if they are now trying to sue companies because they are saying either you get vaccinated or you're not working here, I don't know how that's going to stand up in court. Are they going to make some provisions because of the vaccine and this going on, or are they going to stick with the law? Just a question.
Well, I remember going to work, getting your first job after high school or college or whatever, and you had to take a physical. Mm-hmm. And you had to take a physical from the company doctor. And whatever that doctor said, it depended on whether or not you got that job. Right. I don't really see the difference now.
Right.
I don't either. I don't see a reason for them to sue if they're saying you've got to get vaccinated to protect others and yourself and our business.
Right. And I remember one of my first jobs out of high school during the summers, I worked for a company that served food, and you had to have a vaccination card. You had to show that in order to work for that company. So that's not anything new. There were certain vaccines that you had to have to work in the food industry and, around food. And so, it's not a totally new thing to require vaccinations in order to be employed.
Well, and I don't know, I don't know. It just seems kind of crazy to me. I mean, why you wouldn't get vaccinated. But, everybody talks about their rights. And, I heard somebody say once that your rights end where mine begins.
Absolutely.
And, I don't want to be sick because you think you protected your rights. So anyway, it's an interesting thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, Michael. But I do feel like it's always been mandated that you had to have some type of health screening.
Right.
So I don't know. We just like to fuss these days. Go ahead.
There's an interesting news story over the weekend from I think it was Frontier Airline or maybe Alaska Airline, where this guy got on in first class and he refused to put on the mask according to the airline's regulations. And this lady that was sitting behind him, she said she purposely bought a first class ticket to try to protect herself from people not wearing masks. But they allowed this guy to ride from Washington, the state of Washington, to Atlanta. And she said every time he coughed, he turned and it's coming back on her. So she is now requesting a refund from the airline and possibly looking at maybe suing the airline for putting her in jeopardy because they did not make him put a mask on.
I thought it was a requirement on all flights that they're required to wear a mask.
Well, it is a requirement, but if a person gets on there and refuses to do, what do?
You put them off the plane.
Well, they were in flight. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think the other thing to remember is everybody can file a suit. It doesn't mean they're going to win anything.
That's true.
So let me ask you guys just a couple of quick questions. We got a few more minutes here. So, Barbara, I want to ask you about, I was in Birmingham, and Michael said he's actually going to Birmingham in the next week or so. Man, they've done a lot downtown. They've done a lot on First and Second Avenue in terms of restaurants and outdoor seating, and
there's a
you're
lot
the
of
social person, so tell me, you've been down there.
COVID has curtailed a lot of my social interactions, but I was actually downtown maybe 2 weeks ago, just riding through, and there's a lot of development down there. That is so true. I mean, there's a lot of loss going up and opening, and so there are a lot more people living in the downtown area. So the Legacy Arena has been renovated, and that's almost complete. We're getting a semi-pro basketball team coming to Birmingham.
G
League, yes, and so they'll be playing downtown. The new Legacy Stadium is almost complete, and so there's going to be a lot of games played there. So yeah, there's a lot more businesses coming to the downtown Birmingham area. I mean, Hoover's growing fast too, so we'll talk about it later.
We're not going.
But you're right. Most people thought downtown Birmingham was dying out, but it's coming back to life.
It was. Yes. So anyway, so Michael, let me ask you something. I just thought I'd throw this out at you this morning. You had I think it's fair to say, a pretty negative opinion of Gus Malzahn. What do you think about Coach Harsin and where they're going in the direction they're going?
Well, I have to say, anytime when there's a new regime change, you always have some hope and there's a lot of positivity. So naturally, I feel good about it. But I look beyond the fact of my disdain for Coach Malzahn, and not as a person, but as his management style and his ability to coach.
I'm glad you made that point.
Yeah.
Go ahead and clarify that. Yeah, you didn't dislike the man himself. You just didn't like.
Yeah, his job performance and the way he managed. I felt like he played favorites with players. He didn't put them in the best position to win, and I could go on and on. What I do like about Coach Harsin thus far is he seems like he is very detail oriented. He's very analytical. And when you look at his background, I read a little bit about his background. He grew up as a race car buff, and his dad did a lot of racing. And so, in race cars and racing, everything has to be precise and efficient, because one screw up could cost someone their lives. And he is trying to apply those same principles with building a program. And Thom, you and I talked about this, about building a program instead of just having a football team. And that's what I see. He's building it from the foundation up. I'll sum it up this way. People are saying, well, Auburn's only going to win seven games. They're going to go 7-5 or 8-4. I will take a 7-5 and 8-4 with Harsin than a 7-5 and 8-4 with Malzahn, because that's all we were going to get anyway.
That was the best we're going to get.
That's right.
And you'll take a first year 7-5 versus the ninth year 7-5.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think part of it is, how do you lose?
Mm-hmm.
Do you lose did you have a chance to win?
Yes.
Or was it just a flat out loss that didn't look good?
Well, yeah. Well, we'll just take an example. The year that LSU won the national championship, they were killing people. They only beat Auburn by 3 points in LSU. Okay. Auburn led most of that game. They had an opportunity to win that game, and when they got into the red zone, where according to Malzahn, that was going to be a package for Joey Gatewood. And when the offensive coordinator told Gatewood to go out on the field, Malzahn grabbed him on national TV and pulled him back and said no, because he wanted Bo to win the game. And what happened? Bo threw an interception. We lost the game. We didn't get a touchdown. That's it. You know,
I've always said this, and I saw a thing where in the about what was the quarterback we had right after Cam? The really good little quarterback we had.
Nick Marshall.
Nick Marshall is back in the Canadian League.
Yes.
And I think there were at least, and I don't know the right number, 10, 12 former Auburn players in the Canadian Football League. Mm-hmm. And I always said that, you get to your junior season in college and your senior season, those are your money seasons. If you're going to get drafted, if you're going to go play professional, that's where you get your money up.
Right.
And I always felt like we cost our kids a lot of money.
Yes.
Our kids are, those 10, 12 guys that are playing in the Canadian League could easily be in the NFL and be easily making 2 to 3 times the money that they're making. But if you end up those last 2 years and you're numbers, because it doesn't matter that and I know and everybody on the team knows, well, they're just pumping this one guy up and he's going to get all the statistics and so on and so forth. But maybe the scouts will see that I'm as good as he is. No, they won't. Yeah. You don't have the numbers. And I think we cost those guys a lot of money.
Thom, you bring up Nick Marshall. Nick Marshall is an extreme or elite athlete.
He is.
Very much so.
To play those different positions. He played quarterback at Auburn, and our offense was rolling, okay? We were feared with Nick Marshall.
That was the last great offense we had.
That's right. That's right. But the point I'm making is there was a coaching guru out in California that contacted Auburn and Malzahn and said, let me work with Nick Marshall after Nick's first year at Auburn and improve him. Malzahn refused to allow him to work with him. Okay. He could have made Nick even better. Nick could have been playing quarterback in the NFL right now. Malzahn blocked that. But what happens? Bo Nix comes along. He has he has an outside coach. So he lets Bo Nix have an outside coach. I rest my case.
He did have favorites. Bobby, you got anything else? We're going to move on to our G list.
Well, let's move on to our mayor.
Okay. All righty. Well, let's see. The G list is where everybody is a star. The G list is brought to you by Mainstream Financial Group. Mainstream Financial Group provides financial services for both individuals and businesses. Now, their mission is to understand the unique needs of each and every client and to work closely with you, assembling a planning team to develop and manage your plan to help you accomplish your defined goals in retirement. See, Mainstream's financial professionals provide you with a complimentary, no-obligation financial review. These financial professionals can then offer you the custom advice you need to mend together the pieces of your financial life and come up with a plan that is truly comprehensive. Mainstream Financial assists retirees and near retirees in planning for a secure retirement so that you do not run out of money during your lifetime. So you can take advantage of opportunities with tailored advice and the resources to act on it. Mainstream Financial Group. Don't let your money run out before you do. That's www.mainstream.com, 205-324-0589. And now our G-list guest for today. You remember Hollywood has the A-list and here on Tuesdays, but Thom, we have the G-list where everybody is a star. And today's G-list guest is Mayor Frank Brocato, the mayor of Hoover, Alabama. I'll tell you just a little bit about it. Mayor Frank has a long history of service to the people of Hoover. He worked for the Hoover Fire Department for 42 years, serving as EMS chief, operations chief, and fire marshal. Mayor Brocato was Hoover's first paramedic, and when he retired in 2015, he had the longest career in the Hoover Fire Department. Mayor Frank and I went to high school together. We played football together. and we had a great time. And when we see each other, we just can't stop grinning and laughing and smiling. And so, Mayor Frank, welcome this morning.
Good morning, Tommy. How are you doing?
I am doing just great. What about you?
Oh, everything's good. We're just enjoying the end of the summer here, I guess. Our kids are all heading back to school, so yeah, life's returning to normal, so to speak. In some ways.
I want to go back to high school.
Sure.
Some people you could say, well, Billy Johnson was smart, so we figured he'd probably be some kind of smart professional. He's a doctor.
He's a doctor.
Mike Garfield loved politics. He ended up in politics and ended up as a judge, and so on and so forth. Nobody ever said Frank Brocato is going to be a mayor.
No, they didn't.
When did that happen for you?
Yeah, I guess growing up in the environment that I grew up in, a lot of Italian kids were John Carroll, you remember, and a lot of them, like my folks, we had either a little grocery store or a little restaurant. So I grew up in a little restaurant. You remember the little restaurant on Hollywood Boulevard? So that's what I thought probably that's what I'd do. But I graduated from high school. I went off to the service, and I didn't go to Auburn. I wish I had, but I didn't. Lewis went, Joe Rock went, you went. A lot of kids went there, but I went to basic training in the Air Force. And when I got back, I went back to work at my dad's restaurant, and started just kind of piddling in school. Didn't really have a great direction at all. And a friend of mine named Joe DeShire, who I'd known since I was a little boy, he and his brother had a cleaners over in Homewood, and they would deliver the back. Well, I guess they're doing it today now. They would deliver our cleaning, dry cleaning. And so I'm at my dad's restaurant one day, and we called him Joe D. I actually called him Tarzan. You look like Tarzan to him for some reason. He said, I'm a Mountain Brook firefighter. I'd known this man. I mean, he was 10 years older than me, so I just thought he did the cleaning, on that cleaning shop. And he said, you ought to think about becoming a firefighter. He said, you ought to go. This was about 1971, probably. He said, you ought to go out to Hoover. And Hoover was a little spot in the road in 1971. Right. He said, that place is going to be something one day. Can you believe he had that kind of foresight?
Yeah.
So I did that. Francis and I had just gotten married. We lived in some apartments in Vestavia. And so we moved the next year to a little apartment complex right inside Hoover, and I joined the Hoover Volunteer Fire Department. And so I really loved it. It was just, gosh, it was great. So eventually I got hired on, and they asked, as things rolled along, this paramedic program came along. So Hoover was one of the first cities in Alabama, really in the country, to have paramedics, and we were a volunteer fire department. So we worked with Vestavia. They were a fully paid department. We were volunteer. We had 6 paid men on duty, and so none of the paid guys evidently wanted to go. So they asked me if I wanted to go. Well, I was working at my dad's restaurant. I said, yeah, I'll go. And so I started going to the EMT training, and it wasn't paramedic. I had no idea I would get to become a paramedic. This was just EMT, the very first level. And so I went down to, it was called Shelby Memorial Hospital. I don't know if you remember Shelby Hospital. I went down there for that, I don't know, probably a 10, 12-week course. And that was it. I didn't think any more about it. I came back to the fire department. Well, about 2 or 3 weeks into it, they said, hey, they're going to put on a paramedic program downtown. Would you like to be in it? And I said, absolutely. So I was a volunteer fireman with Hoover, and they sent me to paramedic training. And when I got finished with that, then eventually I came on full time. They started expanding the program, and so I spent my next 42 years really being a part of a city that, when I first came here, literally was just a little 4-lane highway that ran down between downtown Birmingham and
Mm-hmm.
I-65 ended, in Alabaster.
It ended first in Hoover.
It ended.
It
It
ended
ended. Yeah, it ended in
on
Hoover.
31.
Right, and you could pick it back up in
That's right.
Alabaster.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So so I spent the next 40 years being a part, because I was on the ground level, so to speak, of the fire department. And I started getting promoted, and I mean, we didn't have a personnel department. We didn't have any SOP. We didn't have anything. We hired, the city hired their first full-time fire chief named Thom Bradley. Actually, his son, Gordon, went to school with us our first year at John Carroll. I don't know if you remember him or not, Tommy, but Chief came from Birmingham Fire Department, and he just started developing us. But he also had a great impact on how our city developed, because I told you we had no personnel system, no pay scale. It was all just it was a little one-horse town. It really wasn't even a horse. It was more of a donkey town. And so again, I got to be a part of that, putting in things like our different SOPs, our personnel policies. And I really enjoyed all it. So I worked with every mayor that had ever been in Hoover. I knew every single one of them. So I watched what they did, and I thought, one day I would love to do that. My mother, she always encouraged me to do that. You need to be, you need to run for mayor. So I knew about 10 or 15 years into my career on the fire department, one day I want to try that. I want to be the mayor. And it just, in God's timing, that's how everything works. I retired in 2015 with the idea of running for mayor in 2016. And that's what happened. I got elected and beat an incumbent, and I've been here ever since. So
well, when I talk to people, when I'm up there, when I talk to people, they're very complimentary of you. They're very complimentary of the city of Hoover. They're very complimentary of you. And I remember going back when Hoover started growing and all the little municipalities started growing. There was, what do you want to say? There was rancor, some division. We don't want them. But people say about you, they say, well, Frank will work with the other communities. He has more of a global view than just his town. How do you respond to that?
Well, I appreciate them saying that, and I do feel that way. And it's actually, when you look at our goals and objectives, that's one of them. Regional cooperation. I mean, it's right there, up there with it. I grew up in Birmingham. My family goes back, came from Italy in 1880s, 1890s. So they've been here a long time in the city of Birmingham. I love the city of Birmingham. I spend my Saturday mornings running downtown, either close to St. Paul's or making the John Carroll route on the south side. Just running it. I love downtown. I love our city. I want it to thrive. When I say our city, I'm talking about Birmingham. But I want Birmingham to thrive, and I want Hoover to thrive. And when we're all doing good like that, if one of us is doing really good, we're going to all reap some benefits from that.
That's great.
And we want that to occur throughout this entire metro area. And so, I don't think just me, but there was a group of mayors that came in 4 years ago that really had a different mentality about that. And I don't know if you've met Mayor Woodford or not, but
yes,
he was one of those mayors. He's a young man that promoted the region, working together. Mayor Stuart Welch from Mountain Brook, a new mayor comes in, promoted that. So we all brought a new mentality, so to speak, about working together. And it's just better. It really is. And one of the big things that we did, Tommy, is that we, uh, early on, we signed this non-poaching agreement. And what you had, like Mercedes was sitting here in Hoover. Well, Irondale offers them this big incentive to move to Irondale. Well, that didn't really grow anything. They're not selling any more cars in Irondale and generating anything anymore for the metro area than they did when they were in Hoover. Yet they turned around and gave them an incentive. Now, I'm just using Irondale as an example.
Sure.
The example is widespread. Birmingham did it, Hoover did it. We all did it. So we signed a non-poaching agreement where we wouldn't go out and recruit businesses that are inside another city limit and give them incentive to move into your city. That's one example. We're working very closely on the World Games. We want that to be a success. But just think about the impact that has on heck, it has a state impact. But the metro area, with all of that activity going on downtown, around the new field, and all that activity going on when we have the women's softball out at the Met, that is going to, bring business to all of our restaurants, all of our hotels. None of the cities have enough to handle this all by themselves. So it's good for everyone.
Right. Okay, we're gonna come back. Let me get Barbara and Michael on. They got some questions for you as well. Barbara's one of your citizens, of course. So, Barbara.
I am. Good morning, Mayor. How are you today?
Good morning, Barbara. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to see you as well. And I have been a resident and an employee. It have been employed in the city of Hoover for, oh gosh, most of my adult life. I moved here in the Hoover area in 1980 and pretty much have been here since that time. So
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of the growth and development.
That's right.
I remember,
The 80s.
yeah.
80s is when it started, right?
Right. When I first moved here, where the Galleria is located right now, where I'm sitting right now, used to be a trailer park. So I don't know. I'm sure you remember those days.
I do remember it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
we had two in the city.
Right. So it has grown. I've seen a lot of growth and development. And I was just reading lately where I think Revere Control Systems is moving to Birmingham. To the Hoover area and bringing a lot of jobs and opportunities for people here. And right now there are about 44,000 people that commute to the Hoover area every day for jobs. So tell me what's next. What's coming next? What's big and new on the horizon for the city of Hoover?
Well, there's two big projects that we're probably a lot of big projects. First, we're focusing on the Galleria just to we want to see what the next 25 years looks like for the Galleria. Retail is not going away. People want to say, oh, it's dying. It's not dying. It's changing. People can still people want to come in. They want to hold it and touch it and put it on. Now you probably don't need quite as much as out there because there's a lot of online. So we're working with the Galleria ownership in Chicago to transform that campus. And some of the ideas that we have talked about is to make it more multi-purpose in terms of residential living. We're looking at Hoover doesn't have a performing arts center. And we're real big in sports here. Everybody knows us for sports, and we do a great job from Little League all the way through the SEC tournament. So our city council is committed to building a performing arts center that we could have really wonderful shows, musicals, Broadway shows, entertainment types of things. And we're looking somewhere in the Galleria Patton Creek area. That's our downtown. Yes. And then as the Galleria continues to develop, we want to see it more walkable. And so we're working a lot of ways to create a different vibe in the Galleria area. Same thing with Patton Creek. We're working with that ownership group, and they actually want to come in and redevelop that entire area. So I think you'll see a mixed use feeling. Think of what you see going on around the Barron Stadium downtown.
Right.
You see a lot of mixed use there. Think
Yes.
about, but it would never be on that scale. Think about more about Homewood,
Mm-hmm.
that downtown Homewood. You see they've got some hotels now. They have some condos, they
Yes.
have apartments and retail. So that's kind of the vibe that we want to get.
Okay.
And then on the
Great.
western side of town, something that's very important to us, we are working hard to get a new interchange at that South Shades Crest I-459 where that crosses over. So
Yes.
I could tell you a lot more, but you know, I'll
That's
hold
great.
off right there.
Okay.
Good
Thank
deal.
you.
All right. Let's get Michael Walker in here and see what kind of question he's got for the mayor.
Well, good morning, Mayor. How are you doing?
Good morning, Michael.
Great.
War Eagle too. You're an Auburn man through and through.
Absolutely. War Eagle. Thank you. Thank you. I've been through a lot of leadership training courses and what have you. And I remember the first one was Leadership Gwinnett. That's the county I live in. And this is their words, not mine. They said, the higher up the ladder you go, the more your ass is exposed. So with that being said, what's the most valuable lesson you learned as being mayor once you got into the job?
I've learned a lot, but I tell you the biggest lesson I've learned is learn how to say no. And it's very, very hard. It's just my personality. I want to please everyone, but boy, it gets you in trouble so quickly. And early in my administration, I was saying yes to a lot of things that, I think people think mayors have all this power and they can do just about anything they want. And they really don't. And that's the way it should be. You got checks and balances at the city level, just like you do in the federal government level. Certainly the mayor has some opportunities. But, I was going and committing things that I really didn't have a right to go in and commit. So I learned to say no. It's still hard, but I learned to say that. Because number one, you can't deliver. And that's not very good when you say you're going to do something and you can't deliver. You have to learn to work with your city council, and that goes both ways. You have two personalities. You have the personality of the city council, which is made up of 7 individuals, but it still has its own little personality. And then you have the mayor's office, and so you have to learn to work together and kind of work towards those same goals. And let me say, we have an incredible council. They are just dynamic, energetic, forward-thinking, and we're all working together to move our city forward.
That's great.
Okay. Well, just a follow-up question on that. I don't know how long you've been the mayor, but what's the next step from being a mayor? Once someone is the mayor of a city, what's the next step? Is that running for Congress or running for Senate or running for governor? I just saw where the mayor of Cincinnati now is going to run for governor of Ohio. So I'm asking you, what's the next step?
My wife will tell you it's 8093 Annika Drive, Hoover, Alabama.
Come on home, huh?
Yeah, coming home. I will admit that if I were a younger man, I may have those types of ambitions. But I mean, realistically, I'm 68 years old. I love being the mayor. I've got 4 more years here, and probably would like to do 4 more if the people would like me. And then I think that's it. I think you've done enough. 12 years would be plenty. I think it's time to move on and let other folks step in. It's not intended to be a career job, but I've thought about what it would be like to maybe be in Washington. That seemed exciting and dramatic and fun and all that. But I tell you, on the local level, there's nothing like being, in my opinion, a mayor. You're in your neighborhoods and people know you and they want to talk to you and they feel comfortable around you and you get things done. You can get things done because it's not such a big outfit. So I think I'm pretty satisfied right here at this level.
Frank, let me ask you this. So your mayoral election is nonpartisan, is that right?
That's correct, right.
And same here and there. And my wife ran for city council here and did very well. She served a couple of terms. People really liked her. I think had it been a partisan election, she probably would not have enjoyed it as much, because now you're trying to, and I look at people on our local level and they're trying to say things or pitch themselves in line with the national parties. And I don't know if that really works. I mean, all politics is local, but we're talking about picking up trash. We're talking about
it really is, yeah.
that are more relevant to the neighborhoods as opposed to being a Republican or a Democrat or a conservative or a liberal or whatever all those things are.
You're right. That's right. You're exactly right. And I'm glad it's nonpartisan. I rarely have to get into politics, and that's good because, as you said, they make sure that the garbage is picked up, that their schools, they've been at great schools. They don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. They want great schools. And by the way, we have great schools. And, that they got great parks, recreation department, we've got that. Now, those are the things that are important on the local level. They don't care which party you're in. Just make sure that Tuesday, when I come home, that garbage can is empty.
Right.
Well, you remember the woman in Chicago, I can't think of her name, Jane Burns. She lost her job because she couldn't get the snow off the streets. And it's like, you can't be mayor of Chicago if you can't get the snow off the streets.
You need to go home. That's right.
Anything else from Barbara and Michael?
I do have another question,
Okay.
Mayor. I know you're in your second term now. You did a lot in your first term to bring more diversity into the city, and I've asked a lot of our residents. I've invited a lot of our residents to watch the show today, so hopefully they are watching and listening. But wanted to find out if they are young people or even someone like myself. I've never really been involved a lot in the city. Committees and boards. How does someone new get involved in if they want to be a part of the city and work on boards and committees? What should be the next step for them? What should they do?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. Hoover's may be the most diverse city in the state of Alabama. We pride ourselves on that. It's very important to me. It's one of the things I'm most proud of about our city is that you walk into our schools and there are some 50 different languages spoken.
Right.
I was watching the school board meeting last night, and the counselor came on. Did you happen to see that?
I did.
And the counselor down there, very, very sweet lady, they showed a little film. Trace Crossing is the most diverse school in the state of Alabama. That's pretty strong.
It is.
And so I'm proud of that because I feel like people, regardless of who you are, where you come from, what color your skin is, you feel comfortable at Hoover. You can go to school. If you are in a cycle of poverty, there's an opportunity there for you where you can go and feel good in the seat that you're in, and you can look to the left, you can look to the right, and you may see people that look like you. You may see people that are different like you, but they look to the left or the right, and they see the same thing.
Right.
And that's all very good. So in terms of City Hall, we worked very hard to diversify our workforce. And what we've done, particularly in our fire department, it wasn't because we tried not to be diverse, but for so many years, we required that you be a paramedic, which is a great thing. Well, we've got plenty of paramedics now. And so our fire chief is making a special effort to recruit young men and women of all colors and nationalities to come and work for our city. He's doing a great job. The police department had already done a really good job. They're very good about it. But our department heads are aggressive and going out and looking in ways to diversify their departments. And people don't give up these city jobs very much. Right. So it's not like we have a lot of jobs, but when we do, we're very deliberate in diversifying our workforce. in terms of citizens that want to be involved, come to the city council meetings. We have the beautification board. That's a great way. Getting involved in the Hoover Service Club. Those are all opportunities for individuals to come in and serve the city and learn about the city and just to be a part of the city. Get involved in your Park and Rec Foundation. Those are types of coaching. All of those types of things are available here in the city for everyone, and we're looking.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Frank, and you talking about Hoover reminded me of our high school. And, man, we just got along so well. It was incredible. And that's why I think when we see each other now, there's always big smiles and grins and let's get together and talk or whatever. But, my group, we came in as freshmen.
Yeah.
There were about 10 of us who were African Americans who were in that class. And we just had the best time. I don't know. It was. I've often thought about it. What made it so special? I remember we had Carlos Boya. I think he was from Chile or Argentina. Yeah. So we just had people from all over, and it was just. I lived. Man, I had to catch 2 buses to get home, and the football field was way out over there. We'd have to take the bus out there. But
bus to Montclair Road, yeah.
At the end of the day, we just got along so well, and it's just been a blessing in my life.
Tommy, I feel the same. I look back on it, and this was the '60s, the turbulent '60s, and I don't know that. I read your book. I didn't realize a lot of the things you were going through, and we rode to practice a lot together. I was at your house, you were at my house. I never really thought a whole lot about it. You're just a friend of mine, and another one of our friends. And I think we loved each other. We enjoyed having friendships, and I think the Catholic Church did a great deal in promoting that.
They did.
And so, it was good times, absolutely good friendships.
Before we get to go back to Michael and Barbara for a second, we got quite a few people on here. Antley says good morning. Vernell Razor says good morning. Jose Garcia, my good friend, says good morning. Becca Davis Gibson from down in Tampa. Barbara Miller from Birmingham. Tim Lacey. Tim was one of our managers on the football team at Auburn. And one of the great things I loved about our football team, especially that 72, 74 teams, those teams, was that it didn't matter if you were the star quarterback, you were the manager, whomever, you were a part of that team. And you're still a part of that team. And we're really good about that. And let's see, who else? Oh, yeah, Frank, I got one from you. This is actually from my wife, Joyce. She says, good morning, Mayor Frank.
Good morning.
I remember working with you in 2000 and doing training with the firefighters. It's great to see you again.
Wow. A long time ago.
Yeah. So anyway, Barbara, Michael, we got another question for the mayor.
Sure. Mayor Frank, I like to ask you this question because a lot of mayors in their cities are having this issue. How do you balance the delicacy of a relationship between the police department and crime and over policing and not doing, what is outside of the realms of standards of policing,
Yeah. So I think we've got a really wonderful police department. They do a great job. Our police department is, by the way, a very diverse force as well, which is important. But one of the things that I thought was very important coming in to when I started this administration was for our police department to have a national accreditation. And so they're going through this really intense deep dive into their overall, all of their SOPs. Every action that they take, every SOP that they write or develop or have written is now being scrutinized by this national organization from police chiefs from all over the country. And it's it is an opportunity for us as a city and our police force to make sure that we're doing things right, to make sure that we're, that we're up on all the modern techniques, the philosophies, what have you, in policing. And this national accreditation, it takes about a 2 or 3 year process that they're going through. I believe takes the department that we have now. That was a very good department, but we're not sitting here resting on our laurels. Hey, we're a good police department. We're looking to see where are there areas that we can improve in. And I just think that's very important, and I'm very proud that they're going through that. I look forward to probably maybe within the next year receiving that accreditation.
Good, good.
Okay. Barbara?
I just want to thank Mayor Brocato for the service you're providing to our city. Again, I've been a resident for a long, long time and seen a lot of growth and development here, and can't wait to see what's coming next. So thank you for what you do for our city every day.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate it. Thank you so
Well,
much.
and I'd like to say, Mayor, this has been great. I'm going to close it out here in a minute, but I'm going to come see you next time I'm up there, and hopefully we can get some of the guys together for a laugh or two. That'd be
I don't
great.
think it won't be any problem whatsoever. I look forward to it tremendously. I really do. Unfortunately, we missed our 50th reunion.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. And I I hated that because I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We have so many people in there that was just good friends. And I mean, I saw Mrs. Sykes one day. And I saw Mrs. Sykes down at Auburn. She was our English teacher.
Yeah.
She was a great teacher, but buddy, she didn't play.
She didn't play.
And I saw her with some of her sorority sisters. She was talking to them. So she came over and she got me and she brought me over and introduced me to the ladies and all. And they were talking and laughing. And I said to those ladies, I said, well, she was really hard on me. And she said, that's why you can write.
That's right. Yeah.
I said, you're right.
They taught us, didn't
they? They did. You had to learn. Yeah. You couldn't come in there and just sit around.
No,
so
it was good.
Anyway, well, let me close out with these comments here and say, I grew up in Alabama when the politics was divisive and people were convinced to consistently vote against their own best interest. But let me say, this is back to wearing that mask. There's nothing really political about wearing a mask. There's people. So if you will wear the mask, it doesn't take away any of your freedoms. Remember when people didn't want to wear seatbelts? Remember that people didn't want to have insurance and so on and so forth. We're all Americans. Hopefully we can work together. We can do it for our families. We can do it for our neighbors. We can do it for our friends. We can do it for our country. So let me just wind up by saying, please get vaccinated and wear your mask. The life you save could be a family member's. It could be a close relative. It could be a neighbor. It could even be mine. So that's how I see it for this Tuesday, August the 10th, 2021. That's our show for today. I want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. I want to thank Michael and Barbara. I want to thank the G-list guests, my quarterback. And I forgot to mention, Frank was our quarterback at John Carroll. He was our quarterback, and now he's our mayor. Upcoming G-list guests on TWT are TK Thorne, first female police officer in the city of Birmingham. Dr. Tamala Maddox, the founding middle school principal of I3 Academy. Galatia Ford, we have our 1-year anniversary coming up in September with the Big D. Big D was our first guest on TWT, and he will be back with us again. And then Francis Tate from Ciota out of North Alabama, and the James Owens Foundation Golf Tournament. So I want to thank our sponsors, Best Girl Inc. and Mainstream Financial Group. You know somebody who you think would be a great guest, please refer them to us at either Thom@bestgirl.com or Emily@bestgirl.com. Thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, our producer. Thank John Jones, the organizer. Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.